Well, hello and welcome to the Super Connector Show, where I'm delighted to be joined by Joe Hutton, who is the founder of Happy Yoga Newcastle and the Newcastle Yoga School, which is also a workshop facilitator, a trainer, and a Substack author of. Do you want to tell us the name of the Substack that you
Yeah,
that you
so
run?
yeah, so Substack's my main thing at the moment. It's called Yoga for Tired People, and it's sessions that you can do without having to get out your mat or change your clothes for. So it's just yoga that you can weave into your day without it having to become like another thing on your to-do list to do, where you think, oh gosh, I haven't unrolled my yoga mat for 6 weeks. You can just stick on a video, do it while you're at your desk and get on with your life, basically.
Yeah, well, I love that. Well, before we went live, I said that at 6 o'clock this morning, I enjoyed doing your 10-minute yoga shoulder reset. And it was exactly what I needed. So I went on Substack, and the first thing that came up was this video, about 10 minutes long. And it was just a way that you can sit in your chair and you can just reconnect with different parts of your body, I suppose, like your shoulder and your neck and your arms and stuff. And it was very good. You're very calm, relaxing teacher, as you'd expect, but you've got a nice manner about you. Um, but it was good because I don't do any stretching. I don't do anything like that. And I was up earlier than normal this morning, but it was nice to use parts of your body, your shoulders and your neck that you don't very rarely. And
Yeah, and it doesn't take very long. I think that people always, because it's funny that you're like, oh, I don't do any stretching, because I always feel as a yoga teacher that I'm like a spectre of people's guilt that they haven't done stuff. So whenever people find out I'm a yoga teacher, they're always like, oh, I don't stretch enough, I don't meditate enough, I don't do. There's like all of these things that they don't do, but it really doesn't. I think people think it's got to be much bigger than it has to be, and it can literally just be like 2 minutes before
Mhm.
you set down to do your work, and it just completely changes how you are in your body for the rest of the day, even that
Yeah,
little tiny bit.
yeah, definitely. Well, even that, like 10 minutes isn't long, but like even in that 10 minutes, it was multiple small little movements you could do in like a minute or like 2 minutes, each of those things. And yeah, it was just a good reminder to me, as in I could do this every day. I could do it. Like, why don't I do this? Because it felt so good. Um, so I love that you're doing that. So we'll go back into Substack in a moment, but do you want to just start by saying how you got into yoga?
Of course. So I got into yoga. I was a bit of a reluctant yoga um, doer because I didn't come to yoga myself. I was at drama school in Glasgow, and while I was there, they basically forced you to do yoga. So it was part of the curriculum. It was they were quite ahead of their time, really, because their thing was that in order to have a career in the arts, you needed to look after yourself. They were like, you will burn out, you will not be able to like be sustainable in a career in the arts unless you have a wellness practice yourself.
Mhm.
And as part of that, they made us. They literally, it was part of the curriculum. You had to do a Iyengar yoga class. I think it was 3 times a week, and at different points we did it at different amounts of time. So sometimes we were doing it every day, and sometimes we were doing it like maybe once a week. Um, and I really didn't enjoy it. So when I first got to it, I did not like it at all. It was too slow. Like, you've got to remember, I was 18. I was at drama school. It was the height of indie sleaze. I was out partying. We were
Mhm.
young and and having fun. And the idea of sitting still, moving slowly, connecting with my body. Like, at that point in my life, I wasn't even aware that I had a body. Like, I kind of felt like my body was this meat puppet that I was pulling around, that I was like, that I was, you know, that wasn't doing what it was told. And so this idea that I would spend time like breathing and stretching and being slow, like it was almost painful for us. But then
Mhm.
um, when I was, so I did it for about a year and hated it for about a year. And then I had a bereavement. And in that time of grief, I found a gym in yoga, a gym in Glasgow that did like, I think it was called Body Balance. It was like this like hybrid of yoga, tai chi. Like it was in a gym. They like played music, and I think that level just got us, and I like really started to enjoy it, and it was just what I needed. And it was like this 45 minutes where I couldn't think about anything else, and I just did that. And I think through that, I was able to then start to enjoy the yoga classes at the at university. And then my course was 4 years, and by the end of the 4 years, I was like, oh, I do not want a job in the arts. I do not want to be an actor at all. But I like was so in love with yoga. So I did a work exchange with a yoga training school, and I basically went to them and was like, I haven't got any money, but I have got marketing experience, because I had done, my degree was in, there was some marketing in the degree that I did. So I was like, you know, I understand websites. Can I help you? And so I did, I basically did a work exchange in, so I did their marketing in exchange for training. So I trained to be a yoga teacher. I like totally bootstrapped it. I didn't have any money at all. And then I did that again with like venues and stuff. So I didn't really have any seed money. I didn't have any startup money. So I would go to venues and I would say, haven't got any money to pay you, but I do know how to run a website, and I can work the internet. And at that point, you know, that was like 15, 20 years ago. So like nobody understood the internet then. So to have my skills, I was able to say, I'll do this in exchange for a room on a Wednesday night to teach my yoga classes. And then it went from there. And then eventually I kind of built up, and then I didn't have to do the work exchange anymore, because I was making enough money from yoga to be able to have that as my full business. And I set up a yoga studio in the centre of Newcastle, and I ran that for 10 years. And then I went online. So that's how I became a yoga teacher.
Amazing. Oh, I love that. So sort of bartering system, I suppose, of exchange. Because you can see why that would appeal, because like a lot of, sweeping statement, but like a lot of arts and cultural organizations don't have loads of money. And often they're amazing at what they do, but not so great at digital or websites. And so the fact that you were willing to and able to help out with that in exchange for something that they possibly had capacity had space for you, and it was no extra effort on their part for you to join a class. And that's awesome. Very entrepreneurial. Maybe you didn't realize you were an entrepreneur back then, but you're very entrepreneurial.
I think it's I think one of the great things about being young is that you don't realize that you might be asking something cheeky, and you also have loads of energy. Like, so I didn't have any money, but I had energy and balls. So I just did that, and then the money came later, kind of thing.
Yeah, no, I love that. I think everything's energy. Like, and if you've got energy and enthusiasm, then why that's very hard to say no to. And if you're clearly into something as well, then why would anyone say no? So when you decided to open the studio, was that difficult? Because most of my career has been online, interestingly. So the thought of actually opening a physical bricks and mortar thing sounds more scary to me than all the other things that I've ever done.
It was a natural step, because I had set up, so at that point I was running yoga classes. It was like a pretty bog standard fitness class setup, where I had a class over here and a class over there. So at that point I already had a community of people who were regularly turning up to my classes. I was already spending money on venue hire, because I was spending money over on a Tuesday night here and on a Wednesday night here, and I was having to run from building to building. So it was such a easy step to go from right, we're going to have all of these. So I never like jumped up like 3 steps. It was just like, right, okay, we're going to like consolidate all of the business into one venue. I think it became much harder later on when obviously COVID and everything happened, and then that was a bin fire, wasn't it? But I think what I've done a number of times in my business is that I'll sometimes step sideways to go up rather than just, sometimes you kind of need to like set up things around it so that when you make that up step, it's more of like a slide along rather than but I was already doing all of the stuff. So it was just like having one main space, which was, if anything, it was a bit easier.
Yeah. Awesome. And do you still have the in-person classes or not? No.
No. Yeah, so it's purely online. I ran both of them together for a long time because I loved my studio. Like I loved it. Like I loved everything about it. I loved like going in and seeing everyone. And I've ran it for 10 years. So it was literally like, you know, people who I had seen get married, have kids. Like I'd seen them have their second kid. I'd seen them like go off to university. I'd seen them come back. I'd like that. So I was so rooted in like a real community. But I knew that what I wanted next, I needed the geographical freedom, and also just on a numbers level, like literally on a purely like in-person stuff is so much harder now than it was when I first started, because obviously we're pushing uphill against like things like business rates and stuff. So it's like the overheads. Whereas online, and also we've got this absolutely amazing opportunity online, isn't it? Where it's like there is no end to how big you can grow online, and the overheads don't really change. So it's this kind of push-pull. But I loved so for a long time I actually ran both in tandem. But I was, as somebody who literally teaches people how not to burn out, I was like, this is this is not sustainable. I'm going to have to let my in-person studio go. But it was really, really difficult. And I think eventually my long-term plan will be to bring an in-person thing back, because I just love it. And I still run retreats. So I run retreats abroad, and I run retreats in Northumberland. And I still see people from my studio and stuff, but I had to throw my baby out so that I can grow a new baby, and then maybe I can bring it back.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. I know there's a guy I really like who's a entrepreneur, philosopher, author called Derek Sivers, and he says with his business he had to decide he was either going to be local or global. He said you can't be both. You've got to decide, or national, international. So because he was very heavily involved in the New York startup scene, and then that was great, but he couldn't grow it beyond that. And then he realized his audience was national, international. So that's where he shifted his focus. And like there's been an explosion, hasn't there, of like online fitness, well-being on social media, which has been great. Obviously, you've benefited from that. There's another friend of mine called Ads. I don't know if you've heard of him, who's like a videographer for fitness and top sports people. So he travels the world filming like some of the best fitness people. And he's saying what he's noticed is there's definitely a trend now where people are they're missing that community of like in person, but it's not just a gym now or a fitness center. It's like people are going there to work out, to have the classes, to have their coffee, for the co-working spaces. It's much more of like I guess like an adult youth club where people are, so there's definitely a rise in that. So maybe that's something to look at or consider in the coming years, just without but yeah, it's alongside all the other amazing stuff that you're doing, which we'll talk about now. So when you moved online, did you start off just on your website and social media at first, or did you go on to Substack straight away?
So I've always kind of been online because I love, I've got a real passion for the internet. Like I've just got a passion for the internet. I love the internet. I think we've got so much potential with the internet to like just change the world. And like I'm a child of Yahoo chat rooms. Like I am just at the age of like being like an internet native. And I went to drama school. I love making little videos. I love the tech side of it. I just have a real passion for it. So I have always made yoga videos, but because I was local, I never really thought about a global audience at all. It was always just like I made videos for my people that were in my studio. So I was very much like, you come to my class and an add-on will be that you can have the videos. And then I decided about 2 years ago, I had that reckoning of like, I actually read the book it's like called Don't 2 times 5 times. 5 times is easier than 2 times or something.
Okay.
I can't remember the exact thing, but the idea in that book is that it's actually easier to 5 times your profit than it is to double it, because if you try and double it, what you'll probably do is just do more of what you're doing now. Whereas if somebody said to you, but what would you do if you had to 5 times it? Like you probably would think of things that were outside of what you're doing now. And I realized that exactly what you're saying, like I wanted a global impact. Like I thought that I just think that everyone can benefit from yoga. So, and the benefits that I was seeing that other people were getting in a local level, I was like, oh, this could be great if I could make this bigger. And so I was like, right, okay, because I'm very like, I love to take things apart, look at it, see how it works, and then like play with it. Like I've got a passion for working out how things work. And I was like, right, okay, let's work out Instagram. Let's work out how Instagram works. So I did a couple of courses and I like got really nerdy about how to like create Instagram videos that were sticky and that people would follow and people would like. And then so I started taking Instagram seriously, and I went from having 2,000 followers to having 100,000 followers in 3 weeks.
Wow, bloody hell.
Yeah, it was like insane. It was like insane, because it didn't just happen in those 3 weeks. It took about 6 months for me to like start.
But then
cracking and then it went big, and then I like really freaked out because I found that too much, because I had always been talking to people who knew us, so I'd always been talking to people who like I was like, oh, that's Shirley or that's Dan, like I would know who they were, and then suddenly it felt like I'd opened my living room door and the entire universe was sitting in my living room, and I was like, I don't know what to do. I don't know what you want. So I had a bit of a like, crisis, not crisis, but like an identity crisis, I suppose, of like what.
Did you start doubting what you were saying, or like overthinking what you were going to post?
Yeah, because I got really good at making stuff that people wanted and that people wanted to share, but I lost who I was and what I wanted to share in that. So I was like, oh, I don't know. I had a bit of so I like kind of deliberately put brakes on that growth, because I was like, oh, this is too much. And my friend Claire Venus, who's a Substack educator, she's one of the first adopters of Substack, and she I just happen to know her. She was like, oh, if you want to do something creative, why? Like, because I was still itching. I was like, Instagram had become this like my job, which it hadn't have been in the past. And she was like, if you want to still like scratch that creative itch, why don't you come over to Substack? So like went over to Substack. Nobody knew me on Substack. I didn't bring my Instagram followers over. I was like, right, okay, I'm going to start from scratch. But I started from scratch with the knowledge that I had gained from what I had done on Instagram. And that built, I think it took about a year. And then within the year I had 15,000 followers, and I've been on 2 years, and now I've got 46,000 subscribers on Substack. And I feel much more like I can be myself on Substack, but that's a me problem, not a platform problem. And I feel now I kind of got my feet back again with Instagram, and I'm like, okay, I know what I'm doing. I can like, I feel like I can be myself on Instagram now. So I feel like it took a while, but we got there.
Yeah. I think this is really interesting, really valuable as well, because there's a lot of people who have small followings and they want big followings, so they're still striving, trying to figure out how to do that. And then at the other end, you have people who have huge followings who are talking about how to do stuff. But people who you have got good like 176 or 175,000 Instagram followers, and like you say 46,000 subscribers on Substack. They're impressive numbers. But you're still growing, and you've sort of, to a lot of people, you've made it. You know, you're at that significant number, but you're talking about what you went through and how you're still approaching it, and you're still figuring stuff out as well. Because you, like your LinkedIn, you've got a small following at the moment, but hopefully doing this today will help get you some more followers and increase your audience on here. So there's always, like, I've got a pretty good following on LinkedIn, but I've got a pretty tiny following on Instagram, and don't even talk about TikTok. I haven't a clue what I'm doing on TikTok, but each platform has it wants different things, doesn't it?
And I think if you play different games and you win different prizes, so like I think sometimes the lever that you have to pull to grow is a different lever than you have to pull to like get people to buy from you, and it's a different lever to like, so I think it's really, and you just learn it from figuring it out, don't you? Like sometimes like everyone always said like, oh, you know, don't follow the big numbers because it's ego and it's vanity, but like I have got an ego and I am vain. Like I almost needed those numbers for me to be like, oh, actually that isn't important. I think if I hadn't have had the numbers, there would always still be part of us that was like, what happens on the other side of that door when you get the numbers. And I do think there is definitely a social proof element of it as well. Like I do think it's that I think it compounds. It makes it easy. It's lots of front loaded work. I think social media and the internet is very front loaded work. You do a lot of it at the beginning, and you can sometimes be like, is this even doing anything? But almost the more that you do, the easier it becomes to do, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you. So so let's talk about LinkedIn, right? So I've got a decent number of followers. It's about 10,500 at the moment, right? So but that's taken me a long time to get there, right? But then last week I've made some changes to my profile, and the follower growth has increased quite rapidly. I think I'm not bragging here, but like I did get about 500, 600 new followers in the last week or so, right? So, and previously it was maybe 10, 20, you know. So, and one of the things that's helped is I've been a lot more focused on what I'm talking about. Like I've updated my heading, my bio, my header image. I'm only talking about events and public speaking and the value of networking and personal profile, and that's all I'm talking about now, which is, I was doing that anyway, but I was talking about lots of other things in amongst that. Anyway, there's that. But if in amongst those, I've been getting a lot of followers, but I've been getting a lot of connection requests as well, more so than normal, right? And I do look at every connection request usually, and I do it. Like I'm like, oh, have they got any followers or have they got no followers, right? And I don't just accept connection requests if people have got lots of followers, but to me, it is an indication that they're taking things seriously. and they've put the work in, that they've put the effort in, rather than someone who's got like no followers whatsoever and they're sending me a connection request. And it sounds a bit wanky, but like I've got 10,500 followers. I've got a lot of sort of insight and knowledge and value to give. Someone just send me a connection request and I don't know them. There's nothing on their profile. They're not including a message about why we should connect. It's like I'm less likely to connect than someone who at least sends a message saying, "Oh, this is why I want to connect, and this is what I think we should talk about." It's the same with Instagram and any other profile. It's not. It does matter. I think there's if someone has above a certain number, it shows that they're taking it seriously and that they put the work in.
And I think it's social proof, isn't it? Like you said, it shows that people are. But I also think that you can have a small number on, because I know lots of experts, and I'm sure you do as well, that are just so busy doing the thing that they're expert in, because social media is like its own expertise, like it's its own full-time job. Like I have more knowledge now, but the knowledge that I have is around social media than like when I was in the studio every day. There's like, I'm not a better yoga teacher now that I have more followers. But I am better at social media now that I have more followers because I've had to learn how to do that. But I'm not a better yoga teacher. And I think that there's lots and lots and lots of people, isn't there, out there that are so busy being an expert in what they're, and that's, and it's kind of sad, isn't it, that that's how but it is how we see it. Like like we're just human. Like there is.
Well, people are looking for signals on there. They're looking for reasons why to follow someone. Well, they're looking for reasons not to follow you just as much as reasons to follow you. But you're right. There's like some of the people that sent me connection requests last week. They're phenomenal. Like you can tell that they're like top of the game at what they do. They're quite unique, but they've got no followers. So, because I spend a lot of time helping people raise their profile online or through my events, I want to help these people. I want to work with these people because they deserve to be known for what they're doing. That's one of the reasons why I do these podcasts as well. But just quickly on this as well. Sometimes I'm sure you've seen this, sometimes you'll meet a business who tells you that they're awesome at digital marketing and social media and website and stuff, and you look at their website or their social media and their website's not very good and their social media, they've got no followers. So to me, I'm like, well, I'm not going to take advice from you because you could say they're too busy servicing their clients, but if they can't practice what they preach, like I'm not going to take advice from them. So,
well, it's about embodiment, isn't it? It's like you have to embody what you teach. Like you have to show that you've walked the walk, and that you've got skin in the game, and that you can't teach something that you've never learned. Like that's not how it works. You've got to show that you can do the thing as well.
Yeah, I think so. And I know, that doesn't. I mean, there are people who are very, there are some of these businesses who are very good at if they just do Facebook ads or they just do Google ads or they just do SEO, then that's not me. I'm not an SEO person. And there are people that's their day job and that's all they do all day, every day. So that I will take their expertise. But yeah, and then what I was going to say, but you've obviously learned, you talked before about all that experience that you've had of learning yoga, not being particularly interested or keen on it, sort of being forced to do it in a way, but then you've found a version of it that appealed to you with the music and then a bit more of a cooler vibe maybe, and then you trained and you've gone through all that effort to train by bartering or like work exchange as you said. Then you've set up a yoga school, then you've built up your following and you've learned how to package it up in a way that people want. And I think that's the thing now is people are just so busy spinning so many plates, even if they really, really want something, they just need it packaged up in a way that's easily accessible. And then that might turn into something longer. It might turn into a deeper commitment, but and if you're wanting to reach as many people as possible and help as many people and educate them on the benefits and value of yoga, then you're doing all the right things to do that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that for me, I'm very much of the opinion that something is better than nothing. So I would always rather that people were doing a little bit. And like you say, that can lead, because I know from my experience that you, like the yoga that I do now is completely different to the yoga that I did when I first started doing yoga, and it's changed time, and I'm sure it'll be completely different to how I'm going to be doing it in 20 years. Like, it's always changing. And I think we sometimes have this idea in our head of like we're always looking for like the perfect routine or the perfect day or like this thing that we can replicate every day. And I just think that sometimes that becomes a barrier for people to actually do the things that they could do in that day to make their day better. Because I think a lot of us have this idea that if something's not big or hard or like difficult to do, like if it's not causing you stress, then it's obviously not worth doing. Because I think a lot of us have equated hard work with stress. So we think that if something is fun, then it can't be beneficial. And I just totally reject that. I'm like, all the things that I do in my life that are the most beneficial, like, are fun. When I'm not enjoying something, then I find that I just don't do it as often. So sometimes you need to like do the smallest thing you can do so that you can remember that you can do it at all. And it's always easier, isn't it, when you're in motion, to keep in motion than it is to start. I think starting is always the hardest thing. Like, once you've started, it's easy to keep going, but starting's the hardest bit.
Yeah, totally. I had an analogy once, you probably heard this before, like if you think about pushing a stationary car, how hard it is to get the car moving, but once it's moving, it's quite easy to keep it going, or easier to keep it going. But that yeah, it's like anything, starting's hardest, but once you're in that routine, it's a lot easier to keep going. Think about one of our daughters who goes swimming 3 mornings every week and 5 nights every week. If she ever has a break, it's hard to get going again. But once she's doing it, she's just clicks into gear. She just gets up on with it, cracks on, goes swimming 2 hours, go to school, do another 2 hours afterwards. It's phenomenal, really, but difficult once you stop to get going again. So talking about getting going as well. So Substack. A lot of people will have heard of it, but a lot of people won't know what it is. So do you want to explain as best you can what it is for you, or what the appeal is for you being on there?
Yeah, so Substack is it's like a media platform. So it has it started off as like almost like a blogging platform. So it was a way for it was like a paid newsletter. So you would sign up to people's newsletters and they would have a paywall, and you could and it's different from social media because well, they say it's different from social media because so on Instagram or on LinkedIn or on Facebook, your followers, you don't have their email addresses. So it's like an actual mailing list. So on Instagram, one of the frustrations that happens is that you put a lot of time and effort into making a video and getting a following, but then it's up to Instagram who on that audience gets to see it. So with Instagram, it almost always has to be surface level, because at any point you need to make the video sticky enough so that people will watch, so that Instagram will show it to the people who follow you. Because if you don't do that, then Instagram doesn't show, and then there's no point. So you can never really go past the surface level with Instagram, because you're always having to like catch attention. So Substack was like, well, how can we do it where it's almost the opposite? So it's a place for long form media, and everything that you make gets sent out to all of your subscribers. So it's like a mailing list. It gets sent out to all of your subscribers, but you also get to keep that list. So if you ever wanted to go somewhere else, it wouldn't be like, you know, if you built up a massive Instagram following, if you left Instagram, bye everyone who followed us on Instagram, unless you say come over, and you know how difficult it is trying to get people to come over. So you have the email list, and then over time they have added new features to it. So they've got like a social media feed now, which is a little bit like a Threads feed or a Twitter feed, because what they were finding was, well, how do we, like, it's all very well and good you having your mailing list, but how do we create discoverability? How do people find you? So they created Notes, which is like their Twitter. And then they also added new features. So you can do video on there now. You can do podcasts on there now. You can host, you can do live streaming on there now. Like pretty much all of the functionalities of pretty much all of the social media, they've got them all on Substack now. So when I put my podcast out, it's just an RSS feed, and it'll go to Spotify, it'll go to YouTube, it'll go to, and it's just, and also it's free. So Substack take 10% of everything, all of your paid subscribers. You don't pay a monthly fee or anything. So if you wanted to go on there and keep everything free, and you just wanted to keep it as a home for your stuff, like you wouldn't have to pay, which is very appealing for lots of people. And then the culture on there is very much that you, if you like someone, you pay to subscribe to their thing. So there's lots of different models. Some people have it where it's like a paid newsletter. Some people have it where it's like a Patreon model where everything's open and you just pay to keep it like there because you like the person doing it and you want them to keep doing it. And then some people have it where it's like more like a membership where, you know, you have like Zoom calls and things. And so it just depends on what model you want to do. There's lots and lots of freedom on Substack, which I think is one of the appeals. Like you can pretty much have, like, there's no like, this is the way it needs to be. You can decide how you want to operate your business on there. I would say it works really well for people who have high volume, low ticket. Very good as a lead generation, very good as top of funnel. I get so many people from Substack itself. So my main audience generator is the Substack engine itself. Now it's not it's not Instagram. It's not like, I don't bring people over to Substack. It used to be at the beginning that I would be bringing up, but now I get it mostly from the Substack discoverability engine itself. Right. And yeah, that's Substack. If you got any.
Yeah, I've got more. Yeah, I've got a few more questions that are very cool. So I know you said you got 46,000 subscribers. So I'm sure you do, like, there's analytics, isn't there? So do you know where most of those people come from, or the UK or the US, or the all over?
Yes, I have a predominantly, I can tell you, I'll bring up my Substack. I'll bring up my Substack analytics. So I can tell you that I'm giving you the exact right.
Cool.
So I'm giving you the right. So look at my stats. So audience locations in the world. So 54% are from the United States.
Oh, okay.
24%, so that's 24,737 are from the United States. 10,958 are from the United Kingdom. 2,000 are from Canada. 2,000 are from Australia, and I've got 600 from India as well.
Wow. Very good. Interesting. I mean, I think that just shows, isn't it? Like, you know, if you were just doing your in-person stuff, you're limited, aren't you? Like you say, especially Newcastle is different to Manchester or Leeds or Birmingham or London. You know, there's only so many people that want to go to an in-person yoga class on a certain day and at a certain time in the city. But when you're doing things online, your audience is potentially, well, it is global. You've got that global audience. That's really interesting. So am I right? You've kept a lot of your stuff fully accessible, so it's free, but you have like a pay what you feel or pay what you think is worth.
Yeah, so I didn't always have that model. I had the model where it was, this is how much it is a year and or a month. And I just thought that for the product that I was doing, the Patreon model worked better. So it's been a bit of an experiment where now I keep the comments and I keep the chat behind the paywall, because otherwise it's a nightmare, and I don't want to be spammed. So I always, in order to like be able to moderate the conversations effectively and safely, I keep everything behind. I keep the comments behind the paywall. Then all the actual videos are accessible to everyone. And what I was very surprised, because I thought when I did that, the number of paid subscribers would go down considerably. But actually they've gone up, because that people, I think, one, the price is like, it's kind of even. I basically make the exact same amount of money that I was making before. But I think the energy that I can bring it is very different. I feel like I just prefer, and I am not, it's not a money block thing. Like, I have no shame in making money at all. Like, I've got no shame in making money. I've got no shame in making money from yoga. I don't think that, like, it's just purely because of that's how I wanted this particular part of my business to run. And it's worked really well, and I'm really, really pleased with it.
Good. Yeah, no, that's interesting, because I think I'm going to take a closer look at Substack, because I suppose if it's like, if you're wanting to help lots and lots of people and you want to share knowledge with lots and lots of people, then as soon as you put a paywall in, then that is a blocker, isn't it? Like, and most people don't just buy straight away. They need to. It takes a while before they're doing their research. They're checking you out. Do they like this person? Are you consistent? Are you providing value? Even if it's a relatively small amount of money, a lot of people, they want to build up that rapport and that relationship and get to know you and see that you're giving, and then they'll commit. So a lot of people, but then then that they see the value in what you're doing, rather than, I'm jumping to conclusions here, rather than you feeling like you have to perform a certain way to justify that subscription or to keep that subscription. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think that it wasn't necessarily that I was feeling that because I feel like the paid subscribers that I've had in the Substack have always just been like the nicest, like loveliest group of people. And I because of the way that I set up and grew my Substack, I feel very much like it feels like my living room. Like I feel really comfortable in my Substack. But I think it was more because I know that there are people who would really benefit from it that wouldn't necessarily be able to afford it. But I also know that the people who do pay would be they're the kind of people who would be like, well, of course, I'll just keep paying, and you can, and then other people can benefit from it. Like, I think it was knowing my paid subscribers' values that I was like, I feel pretty confident that if I opened this up now, my paid subscribers wouldn't just stop paying, because I think they would see that as like that's a nice thing that I can be doing as well. I think it makes them feel nice as well, that that the money that they're given is also allowing it to be free for other people. I think that's the draw for them. Yeah,
cool. No, I love it. Substack's a great platform for, like, I knew a little bit about it, but I didn't know. I think it's one of those, again, before we went live, we were talking about, it's hard to do everything, isn't it? So you have to pick your platforms and maybe do one at a time or a few at a time before you master them, or you figure out where you're at. And some platforms are better than others for certain people. But so I saw it and I was like, I'll come back to that in the future. But for now, I've got enough on my plate. But
Yeah,
it's only in
that's
preparation for this really that I've paid a bit more of a closer look at what it
it
is.
is definitely a world in its own right. So I wouldn't say like don't feel like the FOMO of it if it's work in other places. Don't feel like it's another thing that you like have to do. But one thing that Substack is great for is that you can actually link straight to LinkedIn from there. So you can, if you're posting something on Substack, you can actually just post it straight to like it's got the like auto share thing.
Okay. Yeah.
So it can work really well as like a home for all of your content, and then you cross share it straight to YouTube, straight to LinkedIn, straight to your RSS feed.
Yeah, that's cool. I know. Yeah, because well, I'm subscribing to the free version for now for yours. I haven't committed to paying yet, but you know, let's see what happens in it. But there's only another I think there's 4 other people that I subscribe to. But interestingly, I don't. It's only today again, thanks to you, that I've downloaded the Substack app so I can follow people on there. Because previously I was getting the emails from the people that I'm subscribed to. And I get too many emails. I'm always trying to cut down my emails from elsewhere, but I get 3 really good newsletters that I really value their writing, because 2 of them are journalists, and another one is just someone that I'm really into. I like philosophy, so she writes about philosophy, so I really appreciate what she writes. Now, of those, it's interesting, isn't it? Like, one of them I know has a well-paid job, so it's not like this is his main thing. So I don't feel like, not that he doesn't deserve it, but like he's got his other stuff going on. So I'm like, well, I don't feel bad not paying for this because I know you've got loads of money elsewhere, right? Then there's another guy who is providing a lot of value, who is an ex-journalist. I'm sure he makes decent money as a consultant, but really, I'm probably on the edge of subscribing to his stuff because I don't think he's got a lot of other income, but he's providing a lot of value. And then the other person, again, they've got a day job, so I know it's not a main thing for them. It's like a passion thing for them. But it is, for someone who writes a lot anyway, it's a great platform, isn't it? Like I write a lot of content, or I used to write a lot of content, and I still do a lot. There's no reason why I couldn't just republish or repurpose some of the things that I'm putting on there. And I like it that they've got the RSS feed, like you say, to the podcast, because I'm doing podcasts every week as well. So I have my profile at the minute has nothing on it other than a feed for my podcasts. So the podcasts that we do will now be on there after it goes out. So yeah, I'm gonna spend a bit more time on there, I think, in the coming weeks. Talking about audience as well, I know that you've got that good following everywhere, but you've got a book coming out as well. So do you want to tell us about that?
Yeah, so my book's called Yoga for Tired People, and it's all around how can we stop thinking about yoga as something that we do just on the mat, like for 90 minutes a day, and instead think of it as something that we can weave into our lives. And it all came out of a burnout. So I had a really bad burnout in 2022 after trying to keep an in-person studio alive during the pandemic. And I think about 2 years after that, and just everything caught up with us. And I had a really bad burnout where I was having panic attacks. I was really like not well, and I had to stop my physical yoga practice because I just couldn't do it. And so I created a way of practicing that didn't, and this is kind of where my Substacks all come out of, like everything's come out of this experience of having to build it back up, but from a place of like, oh my God, I do not have anything else to give. And so I'd been writing about that on my Instagram and on my Substack. And I'd never really thought of, in true transparency, I really, really wanted to write a book, but I didn't think it was going to happen. I thought I would have to, I thought if I was going to write a book, it would have to be self-published, which is a great way to do it, by the way. Absolutely. Self-publishing is amazing. Lots of opportunities there. But that was very much the angle that I thought the route that I was going to go down. And in 2025, I wrote, when I did my vision board for the year, so in like January the 1st, 2025, I wrote, write a book in 2025. And then in the February, literary agent contacted us and said, I've been following you for ages. I've been following your stuff. I love the way you write. Have you ever thought about writing a book? And I thought it was a scam, because you know how you get all of those scam press things where they're like, well, do you want to write a book? And then they're like, it's £5,000. I thought it was like that. So I rang up the agency and I said, does Julia work for you? And they were like, yeah, no, she's a real person. She's in the office. I'll get to bring you back. And she was a real person. And she just really understood. She was great. She was like, right, this is she just understood my vision and was very open to the direction that I wanted to go in. And she had lots of knowledge. She's a very experienced literary agent. She knew exactly where to put us. And we wrote a book proposal together. I think it probably took us about 6 weeks to write the book proposal. I had to write 10,000 words of the book. I had to write how the book was going to look. And then she took it out. I can't remember the word. There was a word that she used lots, where she took it out to editors. And then the editors that wanted to say yes came back. I then had to decide which publishers I wanted to go with. And I decided to go with Bloomsbury. So Bloomsbury have been brilliant. They've been so good. Again, one of the reasons why I went with them is because they just understood the book. They just understood my vision for it, and they loved it. And they've been really good champions of the book. So I had 6 months to write it, which I thought was going to be really painful, but it wasn't. It was actually a really lovely process, especially because it was all like you were saying about writing. Even though I'd never really thought of myself as someone who could write a book, I write content all the time. So when they were like, oh, if you can write 500 words a day, and I was like, I normally write way more than that. They were like, I know it's a bit pressurized, but if you write 500 words a day, and I was like, that's half a Substack post. That's fine. I can do that. And it's all stuff that I had written kind of before anyway. Obviously the book is new, and it's but these ideas are stuff that I've been teaching for almost between 50. I'm terrible with dates, a long time. Basically, I've been teaching a long time, and these are all stuff. It's all of the stuff is just a collation of stuff that I had written. So it's not as if I had to go out and research and build something from a new thing. It was all stuff that I knew intimately anyway. And it was really, I loved the writing process. I absolutely loved it. I also loved the editing process. Thought that was great. I thought it was going to be, everyone kept telling us it was going to be torturous. Everyone was like, oh, are you all right? You're writing a book? I'm like, I had to speak to my editor a few times, because I was like, I'm really enjoying this. Is there something wrong? Is there something wrong? And they were like, no, not everyone hates it. It's okay to enjoy it. And then, yeah, so the point where I am now is it's been edited, it's had its copy editing, and now they're just making it, they're doing the editing where they're putting the words on the page, and they're saying this illustration will go here and this illustration will go there. And it's out in March 2027. So very exciting.
Oh, well done. That's really exciting. I think when you explain it like that, because a lot of people say they want to write a book, or they're in the middle of writing a book or whatever, and then a lot of those people will never finish that book or never get a book published, because then they think of it as too big a thing. But by breaking it down into 500 words a day and committing to doing something every day if you can, or at least every week or whatever. And then also the fact that you're already creating lots of content, you've got a bank of content to look back on and take bits out of, makes it easier as well. And do you know, I'm sure you do you know a guy called Seth Godin? Seth Godin?
Oh, what books? I feel like I've seen his name on the.
He's had loads of books out. He's like a marketing guru, but he's been around a long time. It's like he's another bald guy with glasses, but New York guy. But he's done stuff like The Purple Cow and
Oh yeah. I've read that.
Lynchpin
Yeah.
and all kinds of others. But what's great about Seth, he has a blog, like it's a daily blog, and I've been reading his blog every day for about 10 years, right? So I get an email every single day from Seth's blog. Sometimes it's a paragraph, sometimes it's 2 paragraphs, sometimes it's like a much longer bit. But what he's really clever at is I read his blogs every day. Sometimes I've got a few to read up on but then he brings a book out. And as soon as he brings a book out, I buy the book, right? But when I buy the book, it's basically all the blogs that he's written that year up to that point. He's been writing what was going to be in the book, and he's been testing things out to see what response they get. And then when it comes to putting the book out, it's just everything he's done. But what's also clever about it, that is, even though I've read it, I'm enjoying reading it again because I've already got that sort of relationship with him, and it's so clever what he does. But I don't know anyone else that does it the way he does it, but it's such a smart way of doing it.
And I think people often think of like projects. It's like it's a blank slate each time, and so the projects seem really big. Or like every time you pivot, or every time you like bring something new into your business, you can be tempted to think of it as like a new thing. But actually, it's just an extension of all of the stuff you've already been doing. So it's not as it's never as daunting as you think it's going to be. It's just the blank page. I think sometimes really is it is scary. Like I remember so vividly, like because I asked my editor how long the book had to be, and she was like, "Oh, we want it between 50 and 70,000 words," and I was like, "Will never happen. Literally, will never happen." I was like, "There's no way."
I can't even imagine. I don't even know what that is. Like, what do I do? I don't know. I can't.
Like,
I mean, I've got loads of books. I read loads of books. I've got a few on my desk here. I'm always reading books. I love books, but I don't know. I've got no idea how many words are in these books. I'm just.
Well, they said
that. I don't know.
Yeah. So they were all talking about. So the publishing world is something that I had no. Like it's a completely brand new to me, and this is really like I love anything where I get to have a little peek behind the curtain. So I have really enjoyed this process because I feel like I've had a little peek behind the curtain of the publishing world, which is like just delicious to me. But they were talking about like it's not necessarily the length, how many words is in the book. It's more like how thick the spine is, because if it's too thick, then it won't sell because it'll cost too much it's not that it won't sell to the consumer, but it won't sell in the bookshelves shops because they'll be like, unless you're like Stephen King or like, something that you could write anything and people would, but if it's too thick, it becomes too costly to print. So we end up, and then if it's too thin, if people are, like apparently people make decisions buying books. So if they don't know who the author is and they're buying a book, if the book's too thin, they're like, well, I'm not paying £12 for that. Yeah. Because it's too thin. So they'll buy it. So they were like, it's less about how many words and more about like literally the width of the book on the shelf.
Oh, okay.
And I was like, oh, that's interesting. But it's when she said that many words, I was like, there's just literally no way. And then when I'd written, so I think my book ended up being 64,000 words, and I was like, I could have written so much more, because it's less about writing the book and more about the process of, you just get into that habit of writing every day, and you get into that habit of editing it, and then as you're editing it, you're like, oh, and then I could also say this and da-da-da. And so it's not like one big project, it's like lots of little tiny mini mini bits of writing, which is something that we all do when we're making content all the time anyway. Like if you can write a blog, you can write a book. If you can write a LinkedIn status, you can write a book. If you can write if you can consistently make content, you can write a book. Like you just can. Because if I can do it, then you can. Like anyone can. Like it's genuinely, if I can do it, anyone can do it. Job.
Yeah. No, but it goes back to you've got that experience and you've got the credibility and you've got the knowledge. It's packaging again, isn't it? It's like packaging it up in a way that appeals to not just the end user but the publisher in a way that, and the literary agent in a way that they can sell. And like the topic, there's a lot of people who are struggling with overwhelm or burnout, or they're feeling tired and they've got too much on their plate and whatever. So people are looking for answers and ways to manage their lives better, their work life and their personal life better. So, and if it's well-being, yoga, helping people with, like, I can totally see why it appeals to people, why it's going to sell and going to do well, I'm sure. But also, we talked earlier before we went live about, I've spoken to a few publishers over the years and some quite recently, and they're not just looking for a good idea, they're looking for people who have audiences who can help sell to. So the fact you've already put the work in, you've got that audience, that's another reason why that's valuable, because you've now got a ready-made audience and a mailing list that you can tell people about your book as soon as it comes out, just like Seth Godin has, So yeah, exciting times. So I'm sure this is just the first of many.
I think that's one of the things of when you're thinking about building an audience, because I know when you're a small business owner and there's absolutely loads and loads of stuff. So I train yoga teachers, and this is something that I speak to them about all the time, because they're always really stressed about social media, and they're always like, oh, I need to be building my social media, I need to be spending time on social media. And I'm like, but if your end goal is to fill a church hall on a Wednesday night, you don't need social media. Like you absolutely don't need it. But if your goal is to write a book and get a book published in a traditional manner, like people always say, like, I know that there's a lot of, maybe the world shouldn't be like this. There's a lot of contention about it. And I know there's a lot of people who are really upset about the fact that it is easier to get a book deal if you have a big audience. But that is the reality of the world that we live in. So if you do want to, and actually, there is no reason why you need to traditionally publish. You can self-publish, and that's a really good route as well. But I think we've never been in a space where it is so equitable. Like, yes, the people with the bigger audiences get more opportunities, but anyone can build that audience. All you need is an iPhone and knowing how it works. So I think it's really exciting. Like, I think it's really exciting because if your goal is to get published, spend your time working out how to do the steps to get somebody to want to publish. Yeah, I think that it's actually there's a really big opportunity here for people, because I think sometimes people hear, oh, you got that because, and it isn't just because I had a big audience, it's because I was saying something repeatedly that was then going to be like, it's all been it's all been reverse engineered because I knew that I wanted a book. So it was like you put the things in place, and it might be that nothing ever comes out of it, but if the things are in place, then it makes it much easier for people to find you, to then you can get those opportunities from the things that you have put in place. And I know that a lot of people hear that and they can get discouraged and think, oh, but that means that I have to have a big audience. But you don't need a big audience. You just need, because the literary agent was like, she's only one person. Like, your editor's only one person. You actually only need to get yourself in front of those people. But like, it's not like 50 years ago where it was all the deals were being done behind closed doors, and it was all like, it was who you went to school with and who you like, who your dad was, and now it's like, and what your second name was. Now it's like, well, can you pick up an iPhone? Can you learn this skill? And I think it is all a skill. Like, you can learn to speak better on camera, you can learn how the algorithms work, and once you learn that, then it's the world's your oyster, because you can then leverage that, because the things that work on Instagram work on Substack, work on TikTok, work on YouTube. Like, once you understand how that works, then you can replicate that anywhere. And I think that's so exciting. I think that's like the opportunity there. Like, it's so exciting. Like, I love the internet though, so I'm like a massive.
Yeah, well,
like,
I'm the same. Yeah, I think it's people get frustrated with algorithms and stuff, but the algorithms can be your friends. You know, like if you figure out, like you say, how I said earlier, how to package things up in a way that people want. Like, I've got, as I said before, I've got a decent audience on some platforms and I've got a tiny audience on others. And that just means that I'm not packaging it up the right way for that platform. I've got to figure out a different way of getting the message across for that audience over there. But then it goes back to, if people want a book, why do they want a book? Is it just an ego thing? They just want to say they've got a book, or do they want a book deal, or to self-publish a book because they want that message to be spread? And then, does it actually need to be a book? Could it be a Substack? Could it be an Instagram? Could it be a LinkedIn? Doesn't really matter what format it is. If your end goal is to reach lots of people, then you've got to put the effort in to reach lots of people in whatever way you can. And a book might not be the right way, but it's lovely if you can, if you value books and you're excited by books. Because some people will buy a book and then they're not on Substack and they're not on LinkedIn and they're not on Instagram, but they love books. So yeah, just horses for courses. But exciting. Hey Joy, you're doing awesome stuff. So I'm really glad that you wanted to do this interview today. So for anyone that wants to find out a bit more about you, I know you definitely encourage people to follow you on LinkedIn, trying to get that audience, particularly around business owners or leaders or people who know someone that's maybe awesome at what they do, but they're spinning too many plates and maybe feeling a bit overwhelmed and need to find a way to get a bit of energy back and so they can focus and bit more productive. But where else? We talked about Substack. Do you just go on Substack and search for?
Yeah, so it's Joe Hutton Yoga on Substack. So if you just look for Joe Hutton or Yoga for Tired People, you'll find us.
Brilliant. Okay. Is there any other, like, I know they Substack and Instagram and LinkedIn?
Yeah, Instagram. So yeah, Joe Hutton Yoga on Instagram as well. Yeah, I'm active. The only one I'm not active on is LinkedIn, but that will change, Paul.
Oh yeah, well after today, you're just gonna have an explosion of new followers after today, I'm sure. Do you use TikTok or not?
I am a prolific TikTok consumer.
Oh, like consumer, but not a creator.
No, I cross posted on TikTok for a while, and I got quite a lot of followers on TikTok. But I was like, what is the end goal with this? And I just couldn't. It was splitting my focus too much. So TikTok is merely for my own viewing entertainment now. And I think it's important that you have parts of the internet that are just for consumption too.
Yeah, I know. Like I didn't know what to do with it, and then I was only on it because my daughter kept sending me videos to look, and I was like, "Oh, go on, I'll go on it." And it's not the right channel for me. But there's some good stuff on there. It is entertaining, but then there's actually some good entrepreneurs, business leaders on there sharing information. But I'm on the verge of shutting it down or just coming off it, because it's just a distraction, really.
Yeah, it's definitely a distract. It's like a attention suck, definitely. But I watch all the movie reviews and the book reviews and the TV reviews and stuff. So, but I think it's really important that like for me, I can't have my focus split too much. I think there was a point where I was like trying to do everything online, and I just think pick one or two channels that you're going to go all in on and just do that, because otherwise because at the end of the day, like, you've got to think, why are you running your business in the first place? Like, most of the time we're running our businesses because we want to have a good quality of life. Like, it's so that we can experience life. And if you're spending your whole life on things that like
feeding social media platforms just to keep, I know it's that definitely, you want to free up, if you can free up a bit of time to in the real world with you while doing a bit of yoga, instead of being on social media, like doing a bit of yoga and walking the dog. My dog, I think, needs a walk soon. Just spend time with loved ones, friends, loved ones. Watching the telly, it's totally okay to just watch a bit of telly and pick up a hobby or do nothing at all. Read a book. Lovely. Awesome. Right. Thank you, Joe. I think we'll leave it there.
Thank you, Paul.
Really, really enjoyed that, and good luck with everything.
Thank you so much, Paul. It's been an absolute pleasure to be on.
Okay. Thank you. See you later. Bye.